moral reformation, a knowledge of
We
self.
must work passionately and unrelentingly for first-class citizenship.
For instance, the average so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can go into business and provide jobs for himself.
We've got to get smart. We've got to organize.
And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get clothes from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man.
We've got to organize so effectively and so well and engage in such powerful creative protest that there will not be a power in the world that can stop us.
We gotta be proud to be black. Don't worry about what they say. We gotta think smarter and live smarter. We gotta want more and work harder, cause they ain't giving it to us. Put your all in. If you truly wanna make it, can't be waiting for handouts, baby, you gotta take it. Like Martin gotta have a dream, cause he had one. Like Malcolm, by any means, gotta get that done. Don't be ashamed of who you are, stick your chest out proud. Make them believe that you're the best, show them what you about. We gotta love each other, stop killing each other. We gotta unitize and don't believe the lies. This is a message to the blacks and any other minority. Live well and love self, that's the priority.
Been taught for so many centuries that they are nobody is not easy.
So they very skillfully made you and me hate our African identity.
Maybe the English language should be reconstructed so that teachers will not be forced to teach the Negro child 60 ways to despise himself and thereby perpetuate his false sense of inferiority.
Hating our features and our skin and our blood, why we had to end up hating ourselves. It made us feel inferior.
We must no longer be ashamed of being black.
See Jumbo, everybody. This is Satora's Black History Corner Internet program. I am your host, Catherine Hunter Williams, and my co-host, Miss Catherine Blake, will not be with us today, but she may call in later or throughout the program. We'd like to invite you to call in with any questions or comments at this number, 810-208-1854. We not only tell our story about past great and unsung heroes and sheroes, but also about those living in the present day. Today we're going to open our story with the remarkable inventor Charles B. Brooks, and if we have time, we will end our story about the amazing Dr. Charles Drew. I think we've talked about him before on one of our programs some years ago, but we'd like to keep all of, like I say, past and present in the forefront. And so sometime we will repeat our story about someone else because we don't want you to forget our story at all. All right, let's go. Let's start this program. All right. This is the Charles B. Brooks, inventor extraordinaire. This is written by Shirley Patel, Medford Memorial Middle School, and this is her story about Charles B. Brooks. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm mixing them up, because one is Dr. Charles Richard Drew, and the other one is Charles B. Brooks. All right, let's get into her story. Charles Brooks, when someone says that name, I think of a famous inventor who invented the street sweeper truck. He was born on the 13th of December in 1882. Charles Brooks was a mastermind who worked in Newark, New Jersey. On March 17, 1896, Charles Brooks introduced the famous street sweeper truck. This truck had revolving brushes that were interchangeable and scrapers to help clean the streets more efficiently. That's not really a good clear picture of Charles Brooks, but that's the only one that we could find of him. And you have to remember this was like in the 1800s, the late 1800s when these pictures was taken. But that is the truck that you see right there. That is the sweeper truck. The ones you see today at night going around the city, sweeping the city, is partly from his invention. This truck had revolving brushes that were interchangeable and scrapers to help to clean the streets more efficiently. Invented in Newark, New Jersey, this truck helped the citizens of New Jersey because earlier, before the invention of the street sweeper, the people of New Jersey cleaned the streets themselves. That would be something. And I do remember when we used to have to clean our streets also. Now they can live peacefully with clean streets in New Jersey. And also this invention has went around the world. Well, at least in America. We do have street sweeper trucks. As you can see, Charles Brooks' invention clearly helped and improved the state of New Jersey, but also the state of Michigan, because I see these trucks at night around Flint. Charles Brooks, a New Jersey native, also invented something else important, and something that we still use today. Any guesses? If y'all have a guess on it, call and let us know. I'm gonna move forward with this, and if somebody have an answer to that question of what was his other invention that we're still using today, please call in at 810-208-1854. And if you call in with the right answer, we will give you a 1-year subscription of our newsletter, Satora's Black History Corner, which goes along with this internet program. As if Charles Brooks didn't do enough for New Jersey, he decided to improve the refuse receptacle, also known as the garbage truck. He made it so that it stored and collected garbage and litter from dirty areas. It basically gathered trash into it. That's interesting. Kind of like the modern garbage trucks. Now, the people of New Jersey are able to live in a litter-free state. However, the refuse receptacle ran on wheels, which was big because back then, not everything had wheels as compared to New Jersey today. The refuse receptacle also had an automatic turning brushes. This was truly a very thought out and planned improvement of the refuse receptacles. Refuse receptacles today are called garbage trucks, right, John?
That's what I always call them as.
Yeah.
Refuse, garbage, yeah.
Garbage trucks. Have you ever wondered why Charles Brooks became an inventor? Charles Brooks became an inventor because of his love of science, and he loved making things such as models. Charles Brooks had a mind of an inventor. As a result, Charles Brooks became a very famous inventor around the globe. Charles Brooks was a man with many words, and with many words comes a couple of quotes. Charles Brooks always used to say, "I've got a bone to pick with you." So that's where that saying came from, huh? I got a bone to pick it with you, John. And we can't forget the classic, "I told you what his salary was. You all act like I was telling you wrong." However, one person must always come to an end. Charles Brooks, the famous American African, New Jersey native, and inventor, died in March of 1970. But we all know that Charles Brooks lived a happy, healthy, and giving life in New Jersey.
He died in 1970?
That's what it says, March
Wow.
1970.
He lived a long time then.
Well, I think she might have the wrong information, but I will get to the correct information because he was born in the 1869.
Well, that had been 100 years. That could possible. I mean, that's not like 200 or 300 years. So
He was born on March 17th. No, he was born on December 13th of 1882.
Okay, well,
That still would have been,
That's a long time.
1970 would have been almost 100 years, wouldn't it?
well, it's at 10 years in his 90s, I think, his 90s.
Yeah, so 1970.
So that's not unbelievable.
No. Okay, back to that question that I asked earlier. He also invented something important and something that we still use today. Nobody has called in, so I'm going to have to talk about it right now. Charles Brooks of Newark, New Jersey, invented the paper punch. There's the patent up there. You can see it, and we still use this paper punch today to punch holes, usually in the side of our papers, or when we want to string a group of papers together and put something in it, or tack it together or something, we use the paper punch. As you can see, there's the patent right up there, and it's very familiar because everybody got one. I even have one in my office. It's also called a ticket punch. It was a ticket punch. You know, when sometimes you go to different places, they'll punch your ticket with it. It had a built-in receptacle on one of the jars to collect the round pieces of waste paper. They don't have that on it today, John.
No, I think they just dropped down on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did that. That was a good idea because it stopped littering.
Well, I think the reason why they stopped, they don't have that that little compartment anymore because they probably want to get around paying the patent, the patent, what they call the residual income off of that. That's all you gotta do is make a minor change. You can avoid having to pay the original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Okay. There's also, we have the full patent of the use issued to Charles Brooks for his street sweeper, and also we just talked to you about the ticket punch. I'm sorry nobody called in about that, but sometimes that's just the way it be. All right. Can you show the patent of the street sweeper, John? And then we'll move on.
I don't have the patent for that. I just got the picture of the street. Well, hold on here. Hold on.
Yeah, you do.
There we go.
There you go.
All right.
Now you can look at it and see the different things that he have on it of what he how he invented it. You can see the brushes and everything, and it's called C.B. Brooks Street Sweeper, and the patent was done March 17, 1896, I think. Yep, 1896. Charles Brooks. That's our story of Charles Brooks, extraordinary inventor extraordinaire. Okay, who invented the street sweeper and also the paper punch. Also, you can also find a website where you can find a picture of Charles Brooks. Oh, they're asking us to let us know because the picture that we have that's the only picture that we have, and it's kind of grainy, but at least you can kind of see what the man looks like. All right. That's our story of Charles B. Brooks, who patented one of the first self-propelled street sweeper. I'm sorry. And you see these running around the cities at night cleaning the streets. All right, that's the story of him, of our story of Charles B. Brooks, inventor extraordinaire. And he also invented the paper punch or ticket punch. Yeah. And we still use that today, and we also still use the street sweepers today. I know it's been more improved on since 1896, because as you can see, that truck, it's an old looking truck, and the one we have today is a big, like, wide truck, yellow. The one in Flint is anyway. It's kind of yellow, ain't it?
Yeah, they're kind of like these are like I probably look from the looks of it, and I'm not an expert, but it looks like it might have been like a Ford product, a Ford pickup or something like that, modified. Because basically there's only 2 or 3 manufacturers, and they're common. So what you do is you adopt, if you're making something that had to have run on wheels like a vehicle would, you just adapt the technology to the time to accommodate that. And that looks like some kind of Ford or some other American-made pickup truck that they put all the other stuff onto.
He added onto it, and they would go around the city streets, sweeping the streets with it,
right,
collecting the litter,
right,
into a receptacle.
Right, it's basically a big vacuum with basically looked like a big vacuum. I mean, I don't know if it was a vacuum, but it scooped up materials and threw it back into a container, a collection container. So from the looks of that, but yeah, I mean, what they did is there was an amazing amount of time. That was an amazing time to live in the 1900s because you had so much stuff being developed, and you could see how to put it together in different ways. Like they call it nowadays a mashup. You take this from over here and this from over here, and you put them together.
This there.
Yeah. We call it nowadays in technology a mashup. That's exactly what we do in the studios. We do mashups. We take technology and we do basically it's a series of multimedia presentations here.
Oh,
so that's what kind of a mashup was. That's what we do. The songs being played, that's a mashup. That's a mashup. So I mean,
you call it M-A-S-H, mash?
Mashup, yeah, mash. M-A-S-H.
Okay.
It's called a mashup. Whenever you take technologies and you combine them, and that's basically what they were doing back then. I mean, they took this. Oh, wait a minute, we could put this on here and we could adapt this. And that's the reason why that you had such unprecedented growth in technology, because they saw stuff that never existed before, and they can actually apply it to things that they needed to get done to make life, labor-saving devices, and that's exactly what that was. And also safer. I mean, the person sweeping the streets, vulnerable. This, I mean, they drive down the street, they're they're secure. It does a better job. They don't have the constraints of worrying about their safety. So.
You talking about the new ones today, or
I'm talking about this one.
Okay. It do look like it's more protective, because the one that they have that they're riding in today, I don't think it's even covered. Is it covered?
Yeah, I think the one's covered, but I mean, it just basically, it'd be a lot. Any one of those would be more protected than if you're just actually with a push broom in the middle of the street trying to clean up.
I remember those days too.
Yeah, well, some streets do that. I mean, some small ones, but I mean, let's face it, this is definitely an improvement. I mean, you could do a wider area, longer streets, much quicker. So.
All right. Okay, that's our story of inventor extraordinaire Charles B. Brooks. Thanks, John. Now, let's talk about our story about the amazing Dr. Charles Drew. Oh, thank you. That's a beautiful picture of him, John. Thank you so much.
Because I thought that was like, because we had the sheets made up for that camera, but the camera wasn't working, so. Anyway.
We working it.
Yeah, it works good.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Charles Richard Drew was born on June 13, 1904 in Washington, D.C. He was an American African physician, surgeon, and medical researcher. He researched in the field of blood transfusions, developing improved techniques for blood storage, and applied his expert knowledge to developing large-scale blood banks in early World War II. This allowed medics to save thousands of lives of the Allied forces. The research and development aspect of his blood storage work is disputed. As the most prominent American African in the field, Drew protests against the practice of racial segregation in the donation of blood, as it lacks scientific foundation and action, which cost him his job. Wow. Drew was born, as I said, in 1904 in Washington, D.C. His father, Richard, was a carpet layer, and his mother, Nora Burrell, was a teacher. Drew and his siblings grew up in D.C.'s Foggy Bottom neighborhood, and he graduated from Dunbar High School in 1922. Drew won an athletic scholarship to Amherst College in Massachusetts, where he graduated in 1926. An outstanding athlete at Amherst, Drew also joined Omega Psi Phi fraternity, so he's one of those brothers of that. He attended medical school at McGill's University in Montreal, Canada, receiving his MD in 1933, as well as a Master's of Surgery degree. And he ranked second in his class of 127 students. That's up there. That's really up there. Second. All right now. A few years later, Drew did graduate work at Columbia University, where he earned his Doctor of Medical Science degree and becoming the first American African to do so. Let me repeat that. Drew did his graduate work at Columbia University, where he earned his Doctor of Medical Science degree, becoming the first American African to do so. In 1941, Drew's distinction in his profession was recognized when he became the first American African surgeon selected to serve as an examiner on the American Board of Surgery. Drew had a lengthy research and teaching career and became a chief surgeon. In the late 1940s, before the United States entered into World War II, and just after earning his doctorate, Drew was recruited by John Scudder to help set up and administer an early prototype program for blood storage and preservation. He was to collect, test, and transport large quantities of blood plasma for distribution in Great Britain. Drew went to New York to direct the United States Blood for Britain project. The Blood for Britain's project was a project to aid British soldiers and civilians by giving U.S. blood to Great Britain. Drew created a central location for the blood collection process where donors could go to give blood. That's the American Red Cross today. All right. He made sure all blood plasma was tested before it was shipped out. That's awesome because, AIDS virus passed around through blood plasma, didn't it, John?
Yeah.
I think at one point in time they wasn't checking the blood correctly.
Well, that wasn't something that they had to look for, and then they developed, procedures to test for it. Yeah, but it was, they definitely saved a lot of lives. But there was also a lot of people who did get the virus through
that blood transfusion.
I think the Ashe, the tennis player.
Yes, he did. Arthur Ashe.
Arthur Ashe. I forgot his first name, but that's how I think he acquired.
That's how he died. Yeah.
Through because of a blood transfusion.
Yep. Oh, so be wary of those blood transfusions, and if you have to have one, pray that you get one that's not contaminated.
They do contaminate. They do they do check it now. I mean, let's face it, that wasn't something they were simply aware of. I think he probably late 70s, early 80s that it happened. And 84, 83, 84, that's when the AIDS really
really came out, yeah.
That about it. It had been dealt with in other countries for several years. But see, it transformed itself here in this country. In the other countries, it was considered amongst the heterosexual population. And then they actually traced the HIV virus to a Canadian airline steward that actually, or, a flight attendant who brought it in. They actually traced, pretty much every North American case of it to that one or two individuals.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, it's like because it's like what happened is it's in Africa and stuff like that. Africa, Haiti, and stuff. That's a heterosexual. It's amongst a heterosexual population. And
yeah, that's what I was finna comment on that.
Yeah, but other countries, somebody from the United States or Canada or whatever went to one of those countries and engaged in sex with somebody. It was probably a bisexual individual.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying anything bad about, but anyway, that's how it could jump to. It's all theory.
That's how it was transferred here.
That's how they think it came to this country. Yeah,
okay.
Largely.
Yeah.
So, but it's always been here. They've always had some form of AIDS that they just didn't acknowledge it, and it wasn't a. And it was like.
It wasn't an epidemic at one time.
It wasn't an epidemic, and it also wasn't. There's I guess syphilis example that didn't happen in Europe. And it came from the conquistadors. I just heard this last night. So there's cross-pollination of good things and bad things. Well, viruses go full back and forth through all the continents.
Yeah.
And what comes from one goes to the other. So that's basically certain behaviors and actually.
And they also made those said those certain behaviors of getting that HIV and spreading. It was through homosexuality.
Well, so another thing is too.
At one time,
some people theorize too that the nature of homosexual sex bypasses the barriers in place to prevent infections.
Mm-hmm.
Largely in the heterosexual population. So, and it is. I mean, it makes sense. It's without going into real graphics in the show, which is
right.
But it's like there seems to be a tendency to bypass the natural layers of protection the human body is set up to prevent infections for.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just leave it at that. So.
Okay, John. Yeah, we don't want to get too graphic on here because we can, but we're gonna leave it on. As John said, we're gonna just leave it at that. All right, let's get back to our story about Dr. Charles Drew. He ensured that only skilled personnel handle blood plasma to avoid the possibility of contamination. The Blood for Britain's program operated successfully for 5 months with total collections of almost 15,000 people donating blood and with over 5,500 vials of blood plasma. As a result, the Blood Transfusion Betterment Association applauded Drew for his work. Out of his work came as I had said earlier, the American Red Cross Blood Bank. That's very interesting. He left a legacy, and I love that about him. Beginning in 1939, Drew traveled to Tuskegee, Alabama to attend the annual free clinic at the John A. Andrews Memorial Hospital. For the 1950 Tuskegee Clinic, Drew drove along with 3 other black physicians. Drew was driving around 8 a.m. on April 1st, still tired from spending the night before in the operating theater. Drew lost control of the vehicle. After careening into a field, the car somersaulted 3 times. The 3 other physicians suffered minor injuries. Drew was trapped with a serious wound. His foot had become wedged between the brake pedal. When reached by emergency technicians, Drew was in shock and barely alive due to the severe leg injury. Drew was taken to Almanaz General Hospital in Burlington, North Carolina. Listen to this. He was pronounced dead an half hour after he first received medical attention. Drew's funeral was held on April 5th, 1950 at the 19th Street Baptist Church in Washington, D.C. Despite a popular myth to the contrary, once repeated an episode of the hit TV series MASH, Drew's death was not the result of having, because this is what we were taught. This is what we had was told as his story. It was not the result of his having been refused medical care because of his skin color. Got that straight.
Yeah, that's good because actually on the 700 Club, his daughter was on there several years ago, and she talked about that myth, basically that wrong myth.
Yeah.
And that actually it's negative propaganda, and yeah, she dispelled that. She said that my father wasn't denied medical access because of his race. He died of he was too far gone because by the time
by the time they got him to the hospital, he was already gone.
And another thing is too, they that was a good thing that she came out and said that, because I remember seeing the series.
Yeah, because this was the history we were taught.
Yeah, because that was on MASH, and I loved MASH growing up, and I remember the episode they told the story in, and it sunk with me. And then when I saw that interview with his daughter, and so then I started, why the hell would she say this? Deny that. She's got to be telling the truth. She wouldn't deny that.
She wouldn't,
right.
Yeah. And, I'm glad she did. See, that puts it was so many different things that were told in his story. That's why I call it our story. Tell the truth about it, not whitewash it, not change it, not do, as you said, use propaganda to keep the races going and fighting one another. Tell the truth about it. And that's a simple truth. He did not die because of having been refused medical care because of his skin color. He was just about dead when they came and got him, when the ambulance came.
Look at him, man. And I'll tell you what, if I saw that person walking around, I would, if somebody told me he was black, I'd be knocked over, because he does not.
He does not. I think he looks interracial.
Yeah, that or Hispanic or whatever.
Or something.
But I couldn't. When I saw the pictures of him the first time, I went, "This is Charles Drew," because it just he didn't look that pronouncedly African American. He really didn't. He doesn't appear that way.
But it's a lot of American Africans that have blue eyes, blonde hair.
It's a mix. Let's face it. There's kids in Afghanistan who've got green eyes, and that's because of the people who came in there with Alexander the Great's men, when they went through Afghanistan. There's that one woman, that famous National Geographic picture, where she had green eyes. Mm-hmm. That's not common throughout the rest of the world. That's largely a European attribute, green eyes.
But it's kind of common here in this country.
It's becoming more common because of there's intermarriage and stuff like that. So
because I do know some blonde, blue-eyed, green-eyed black people.
So I went to school with a guy who was like that. His parents, he was mixed, and he looked. His dad was definitely looking black, and he was definitely. When he told us, we didn't believe him that he was actually part black.
Well, one thing about these women that I know, they did not pass for white. We had a great conversation on that, of where some of these some people, American Africans that have that look, will pass for white. They did not, because they were proud of their heritage, and evidently he was too, because as far as his story is concerned, they say that he is an American African.
And another thing is too, is he campaigned against the segregation, not giving the blood transfusions because of racial ideas and stuff like that. The myths they had around that. So he definitely stuck himself out there back in the time. Was very unpopular to do. So.
Yeah. All right. Let's finalize our story about Dr. Drew. In 1939, Drew married Minnie Lenore Robbins, a professor of home economics at Spelman College, whom he met earlier that year. Because if you see his daughters, you will know that he is American African. They had 3 daughters and a son, and his daughter, Charlene Drew Jarvis, was the president of the Southeastern University from 1996 until 2009. Dr. Charles Richard Drew made his transition to his ancestors on April 1st, 1950. He was age 45 in Burlington, North Carolina. That's our story about Dr. Charles R. Drew, Richard Drew. I like to use their full name if I can find it. I couldn't find out what Charles Brooks B, what that meant for him. I couldn't find it, but Lord, I done lost the paper here, John, and I'm looking for it. But I'll get it. Here we go. Okay. That's our story about Dr. Charles Richard Drew, the inventor of blood plasma, and Dr. Charles B. Brooks, the inventor of the ticket punch and also the street sweeper that we see on the streets today. All right. I hope you enjoyed our story. Satora's Black History Corner internet program comes to you via satellite at www.ustream.tv channel Flint Talk Radio. That's that's 4 W's. Did I say 4 W's? www.ustream.tv channel Flint Talk Radio. That's one word. The Flint Talk Radio is one word. You can watch our program every second and fourth Monday of the month starting at 3:30 p.m. Also, be sure to watch What's Going On with political pundit Dr. George Moss every Monday at 2 p.m. We hope you enjoyed the song you heard at the beginning of our program, which is our theme song, Be Proud to Be Black. I like I like the whole thing, but it's one that says, one of the what do you call it, John, when they one of the lyrics says, live well and love yourself. So I say live and love the skin you're in. Stop hating yourselves. There's too much hatred out here because of the color of your skin, and you're doing it yourself. It's the theme song is Be Proud to Be Black, featuring Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And if you would like to support this young man and get more information about his CD single, you can contact him at 810-610-6476. That's 810-610-6476. His name is TP, and we must support our young people. As always, I like to say asante, which means in Swahili, thanks to all of you who have watched our program today. And if you have liked what you have seen and heard, please pass it on. You tell 10 people, and they tell 10 people, we'll be one of the most watched programs here on flinttalkradio.com. No, Flint Talk Radio, I'm sorry. Is it .com still, John?
.com, yeah, flinttalkradio.com.
Okay. I had it right the first time. Until next time, keep on keeping on with us. And remember, you are blessed, highly favored, and are kept in our Heavenly Father's perfect hotel, which means peace.
The importance of moral reformation, a knowledge of
We
self.
must work passionately and unrelentingly for first-class citizenship.
For instance, the average so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can go into business and provide jobs for himself.
We've got to get smart. We've got to organize.
And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get clothes from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man.
We've got to organize so effectively and so well and engage in such powerful, creative protest that there will not be a power in the world that can stop us.
We gotta be proud to be black. Don't worry about about what they say. We gotta think smarter and live smarter. We gotta want more and work harder, cause they ain't giving it to us. Put your all in. If you truly wanna make it, can't be waiting for handouts, baby, you gotta take it. Like Martin gotta have a dream, cause he had one. Like Malcolm, by any means, gotta get that done. Don't be ashamed of who you are, stick your chest out proud. Make them believe that you're the best, show them what you about. We gotta love each other, stop killing each other. We gotta unitize, and don't believe the lies. This is a message to the blacks and any other minority. Live well and love self, that's the priority.
Been taught for so many centuries that there are nobody is not easy.
So they very skillfully made you and me hate our African identity.
Maybe the English language should be reconstructed so that teachers will not be forced to teach the Negro child 60 ways to despise himself and thereby perpetuate his false sense of inferiority.
And hating our features and our skin and our blood, why we had to end up hating ourselves. It made us feel inferior.
We must no longer be ashamed of being black.